Patreon bonus for Bibliorex. I am Bugs, which you know because you give us money.
And I'm Bam Bam, which I guess you also know.
But, only this, second or third time you've been here is...
Lily!
Yay.
What are we doing today?
We're doing Left Behind.
We are doing the original 2001 movie.
Yeah, Left Behind the movie.
With Kirk Cameron.
Kirk Cameron, his douchey self.
Oh my gosh.
Left Behind the video game. Left Behind the...
There was a 40-book kids graphic novel series.
Oh, God. I was making a Spaceballs joke.
No, they did this.
It was a franchise. It was a
it took up a full shelf of the church library where we went.
It was huge.
I guess it was like a massive thing in the Christian community.
It shifted people's beliefs around the end times and the rapture. People started having rapture parties.
Yep.
That's crazy.
People would do pranks where they would leave clothes laid out in seats.
It was right after Y2K, so everybody was already on the bandwagon.
End of the world because it's Y2K.
I know since then we've had, that one dude, Harold Camping, has tried to predict the end of the world 4 times in a row, and then he died.
His world ended,
Wasn't 2012 a big end of the world? That was
I think so.
That
was the Mayan calendar.
Yeah.
It was
So, Bugs, you're the driving force behind this episode. How old were you when you read the books?
I know I watched the movie not long after it came out. I read the books much later, and they were boring and not as good.
They are boring and not very good.
Yeah. I read, let me think, 3 or 4 of the books. I know there's a ton of them. There's, 12 in the series? And then there's prequels.
It's a big thing, yeah.
Yeesh.
They, kept going.
I think I randomly picked up, the 5th or 6th book in the series, and Chloe gets beheaded. And I set it down. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
I was traumatized, and I set it down and said, "Yep, done with that series."
I think that gives some context, because they kind of beat around the bush a little bit about something like that, redemption after rapture.
Yes.
Oh, by being a martyr, essentially?
Yeah. So I think that gives some context to a childhood trauma of mine.
The big question of if the rapture happens, does the Holy Spirit leave the earth? Can you become saved after the rapture?
Right. Do you get a second chance?
Do you get a second chance? Yeah.
So when I was a kid in Sunday school, I think I asked the Sunday school teacher, hey, if you go to hell, are you just stuck there forever? And they were like, no, if you how was it worded? If you give yourself over to God and cut your head off in hell, you can come back.
I've never heard that, Lord.
I've never heard that.
And that strikes a tone. So I think that Sunday school teacher just watched that movie or read the book.
It's it happened to Chloe, so it's gotta be.
Yeah.
I've heard the idea that Jesus went to hell for 3 days, and that was between his crucifixion and resurrection. And he spent that 3 days in purgatory/hell preaching to people who had never heard the gospel. And that was their chance to escape hell.
Okay.
And also, hell is outside of time. So anyone who was ever damned would have heard his message, and that was their chance to go to heaven. Don't know if that's canon. I don't know where that came from. That could have just been our mom.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was something
I think I've heard that before, so...
It was possibly heard of me. So we start out with... I'm gonna go with the movie because more people will have watched the movie than have read the books. And this is, 22, 23 years old now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Almost 23 years. It was in February 2001.
That's right.
And I had this horrible idea of oh my gosh, planes blowing up
This
in
came out-
2001.
Right before
know.
9/11.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that made it actually more impactful. on
Probably. People were probably like, oh my god.
This is the end of the world. This is the end times.
Ooh. I know at the beginning of the book, a lot of it's going into Rayford's wife, because she's pretty much like just picked up this newfangled Christianity thing.
And in the
brand
movie, they do it more like, oh, she became a Christian after her mom died, and she has been trying to get her family to become Christian.
So in the book,
Her name's Irene, right? The mom.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
She's talking to Ray, and she's like insisting that saved people aren't all good people, just forgiven. But later on, everyone keeps on insisting, like, oh, all the people that got raptured were all good people. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I feel like they're kind of massaging the idea that not all the Christians were good or something. I don't know.
Okay, this has to do with a very Protestant perspective, and they push it. I think it's an evangelical belief. Good works have nothing to do with Christianity.
Okay, yeah, that was brought up in it too.
Yes, it is a very much, you have to believe in a certain special way in your heart to be saved.
Right.
If you don't have that super special thing in your heart that truly believes, no matter how good of a person you are, you'll go to hell if you don't have that special heart thing.
Yeah, that traumatized me as a child.
That
'cause I
traumatized
couldn't
me.
believe.
Horrifying.
I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with me.
That's why you'll have Christian kids who go and repent and ask for Jesus to come into their heart 10 times by the time they're 18.
Well, I mean, the devious thing about it is, like, that leads into a lot of the self-policing thing. Like, you're
Thought crime,
constantly
too.
monitoring yourself as to
Yes.
why you're going to hell this week.
Yes.
Unless-
And it brings up the idea of backslidden. Did you hear about backsliding when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think I'd heard
That
of
was
it.
more of a Baptist idea from when I was a kid. The idea that you're saved and you're doing good. You're going to heaven. Then you make bad choices and you've backslidden, and then you can go to hell. There are people who believe once saved, always saved. And then if you sin and you do bad, that means you are never saved. Either way is awful
Yeah,
for your
it's all-
psychology.
Yeah.
Either way for children is traumatizing and just awful.
I mean, it's all the no true Scotsman fallacy. Like,
Yes.
you either are a true Christian or you're not, and there's no way to tell the difference.
Exactly.
Unless you're like an extremely confident person or like, yeah, and you're just like, no. I mean, narcissism works great for Christianity because you're like, I'm for sure saved.
Right. I believe...
Any self-doubt doesn't work.
No. Yeah, exactly. The reason I wanted to do this more was, I'm sure there's listeners who haven't watched it, haven't read it, but I feel like the story itself is less important than the impact it had on our generation.
Right.
And I want to talk briefly through, you know, the book and the movie, because that's what we do. And it's not bad from a writing character direction. I know the book gets just bogged down and dumb.
I mean, it's so busy propagandizing that you just totally forget
You don't
that
have
the story's
time.
there.
Yes, exactly.
Like, the story is like paper thin, but it's just padded by so much propagandizing and emotional manipulation.
Exactly.
And Christian
that's
pop.
what I want to pay more attention to, is the idea that this is actually propaganda pushed on vulnerable Christian teens, specifically and young adult. And it also pushed people to promote war in the Middle East.
Yeah.
To say that Bill Clinton was the Antichrist because he said he would bring peace to the Middle East.
Right.
The idea...
Yeah, this was super anti-peace.
Yeah.
It is. They believe that if you preach world peace, you are the Antichrist.
Yeah.
And that Jesus means war.
Jeez.
Because they take very, very specific scripture from Revelations that shows Jesus as a bloodbath warrior. Blood to the bridles of horses in the street. Death and destruction from the book of Daniel. They take every bloody, awful, gory part that they can find and only apply that.
Yeah.
It's very doom and gloom.
It is. It's very apocalyptic. It only causes anxiety.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you any peace. It doesn't give you freedom or joy. It only causes anxiety. And that's a very specific political purpose that they use to promote fear-mongering, sticking with conservative values, staying Republican.
Yep.
And it pushes all of that stuff it's subtle if you are a Christian. If you're on the outside, it's like a hammer.
Yeah, I mean, by this time it was pretty solidified, the Christian voting bloc.
It was, but this hit the young evangelical movement really hard.
Yeah. But sidebar from that, what'd you think of the beginning of the movie? The line, how do you describe the beginning of the end?
Kirk Cameron is such a bad actor.
Oh, it's bad.
He looks like a pasty-faced,
Boy man?
empty. He looks like an airhead
Yeah.
the whole time. He looks like a boy man. He also just looks empty-headed the whole time. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, there was a...
Even when he is in pain, he's bleeding, he looks empty-headed and like, oh no, like vaguely confused. He looks like he's been
Even when he's like
stunned.
trying to tell people what he does know, he looks like he doesn't know anything.
He looks like he doesn't know anything the whole time.
Yeah, there was a note I made about that.
He looks lost the whole
Because his
movie.
character, is that the one that in god-awful movies they call him Bucker Carlson?
Yep.
Yes.
It
Okay,
is.
yeah.
But I think they were doing the new one.
They were.
They
with,
were not doing the
Nicolas
old
Cage.
one.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because I think the newer movies are slightly different in tone.
I think they were made better for sure. They had a better budget, I think.
Any,
I mean, if they could afford Nick Cage, I feel like.
He'll do anything for anyone.
in any case, I feel like Kirk Cameron's acting is like daytime television level, like at best.
At best.
At very best.
Disney child. Disney child actor.
My evil twin, the Antichrist.
Irene, the wife, is doing the birthday party for the son.
Oh, but before that, we get like the whole shot in Israel.
Yeah.
Oh, we do start out in
Yeah.
Israel.
And then
Starts
the
with
tone jumps.
Yeah.
It is a very weird tone jump.
We start with
Yes.
the quintessential Middle Eastern woodwind instrument noise,
A shot of wheat.
segregated shots of Israel.
Yeah, they steadily get more white. Like the first couple ones, it's exclusively Middle Eastern people, and then it like eventually becomes only white tourists. Like you can tell.
Yeah, we start out outside of Jerusalem. Buck Williams is played by Kirk Cameron. He is there doing a report on Chaim Rosenzweig's miracle plant formula.
I just kept thinking the secret formula, like Mr. Krabs.
It's unexplained whether this formula is GMO seeds, a plant
like
Yeah, it's just
fertilizer.
or yeah, like maybe it's like a specific breed of bacteria
wheat.
for nitrogen fixing.
Did
in the
they say
soil.
anything about that in the book?
No.
Or is it the same vague
it's just
formula?
the vague MacGuffin that drives the plot.
Magic formula.
And it's
Yeah.
gonna fit. It doesn't matter where you are. Somehow, it's going to make wheat grow.
Anywhere you are in the world. You can have an empty, useless tract of land, and
Oh,
this
yeah.
formula will create a paradise
Yeah.
of food.
Yeah, you
Doesn't
can
matter the
grow-
climate, really.
Yeah,
Seems like
exactly.
You can grow corn in Siberia. It's fine.
That's basically what they say.
Yeah.
they don't know how crops work.
Mm-hmm.
It's my theory.
They're talking about how this will end the food crisis, no one will be hungry again,
Mm-hmm.
and Israel gets attacked by 100,000 bombers.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, the
The
special
worst
effects.
looking planes. Oh,
Jerusalem and all the areas are getting bombed, and Chaim and Buck get rescued by random military personnel who pop up out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
grab them and drag them into a secret military base.
and it's apparently like the hub of all the military.
I know!
Like they were just standing there.
Why would you take an American reporter into
Mm-hmm.
a secret base?
Yep.
It was so
Yeah, and just let him
silly.
see all your like they didn't have rooms that weren't secret.
They didn't have
couldn't
a waiting room?
Yeah, no, they had to have him in the middle of it.
I have two questions. Number one, Kirk Cameron looks and he says, "Oh, look at all the planes." And Chaim is, he's like, "Those aren't our planes. They don't fly in that direction." I'm gonna, what? Why don't your planes fly in that direction?
They never come home.
They only go
don't-
out.
They only go out. They only bomb others. No one can bomb them.
And also, when Kirk Cameron is still interviewing Chaim, he says, "This place looks great. It looks just like Iowa."
The greatest state.
Paradise,
Paradise,
Iowa.
Iowa. It's like, wow, this place looks amazing,
While a
like
camel
America.
was walking in the background.
Oh, there was a shot Lily was looking at. It looked like the camel's head was coming out of the guy's shirt, so it just looked like a camel was walking around.
Like, did they dress the
No, they
camel?
had a cardboard camel he was carrying on a stick.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
is
had
that
the
what
head.
that
He was
was?
like,
I'm joking. I don't know.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It seemed real, so
Like,
like,
how hard is it to rent a camel?
it
It can't be
seems
that bad.
cheaper than making a fake camel, but
Oh my God, yeah. They
Yeah.
go in, and Buck is the hotshot reporter who runs outside, gets video of the bombs, is reporting live, and they're like, we can't get any of our planes off the ground. We can't defend ourselves. And it's a miracle. The bombs get shot, or the planes get shot
yeah,
down.
they're blowing up and they haven't shot anything, and
Yeah.
The one guy that's trying to get all the other soldiers to get the planes up in the air, he's just like, I don't care if all these planes don't work. Damn it, get them in the air.
Anyway,
I don't care if your sensors don't work or
I don't care if you don't have electricity.
like the important thing for planes, you know?
So God is the literal Deus Ex Machina and stops Jerusalem or Israel from getting
Israel
bombed.
from getting
Yeah.
bombed.
Yeah.
That's nice
And then,
for
like,
them.
but when Buck walks outside, there's just like a random plane wing with a whole engine on the ground, and I'm like, yeah, that's how engines never blow up when they hit the ground.
Well, also, I think it's in the book, they go on and on about how miraculous it is that all these planes get blown up and nobody on the ground is hurt and nothing on the earth ground is actually damaged.
Yeah.
But we're gonna completely ignore the human fatality of the people in the planes. They don't exist.
Oh yeah, they're not.
Right.
The thousands of people who were coming to fight them don't matter at all. God just wipes them out.
Yeah.
Do we ever get like a legitimate like reason why, like an MO for why everybody was attacking Israel all at once?
I mean, just in general, a lot of other countries just hate Israel for various
For no
reasons.
reason.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's no reason. They're
Yeah.
absolutely
He even
innocent.
said, like, there is no country other than Israel that has been so hated by everyone and has never done anything wrong, essentially.
Yeah, which I find very interesting with the recent stuff with Palestinians and Gaza being destroyed by Israel.
Yeah, it was very much we're only victims and have never,
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Buck William walks out and does what may be the first selfie live recording with a big 30-pound camera.
Yeah, and oh my God. Okay, I had read this blog just talking about the faults with the Left Behind series, and this was when I was more deconstructing. And I had not thought seriously about a lot of these points that the author makes. The blog writer talks about how Buck Williams and Ray are both Mary Sues of the authors. And if you think about it from that perspective, them saying, oh, there's our Buck. He would be on ground zero at Hiroshima. And they worship him.
makes
It
sense.
drove me insane. Like, everybody's like, oh my gosh,
That's our Buck.
He's so cool.
He's so cool and so
handsome.
brave. He's the best writer who ever wrote.
he knows all. He only wants the truth and never just a story.
Hey, can we jump forward very briefly?
Yes.
How the fuck did he have 25 grand in his pocket to
Oh
pay
my
for that
God.
flight? Because the guy said no, cash only. He didn't have a duffel bag of cash to get the flight.
He has a $25,000 bill in his pocket. Like,
I think what it was in the book, like, I think the price was different in the book, but
Okay.
he just kept a bunch of, like, various currencies from, like, different countries where he's, like,
Where?
just in a bug-out bag, I guess.
I guess he just had a bag with him at all times that had all this cash. But in the movie, they're like, $3,000 $4,000. And he's like, I only take cash because the banks are closed or whatever.
Right.
And Buck is like, 25,000. And he's like, okay.
And
But he had
everybody's
just
like-
said cash only.
Yeah.
And Buck is there with nothing in his hands. He does not have a duffel bag full of cash. And I'm like, these bastards, they just ignored their own rules.
Cheaters.
He had to have the plane, he had to have the cash. But the idea is, in the book, that he is actually a senior journalist, and he's a lot older. In the
because
book,
he
I'm pretty
looks
sure
12.
he's more in his 40s, right?
Okay.
That
He's
makes
the same
sense.
age as Ray.
Well, no, he's there's a part in the book where Ray is talking to Hattie, and Hattie is a whole lot younger than him, and she's starting to get an interest
Hattie and
in...
Buck are the same age?
I think Buck is still a little bit older than Hattie, but much more in her dating range than Ray. Because I think it's a bit of a big deal how much younger Hattie is than Ray. And he actually refers to Buck as a younger guy.
Okay.
So...
Yeah, I think...
So Ray's probably like 45, right?
Yeah, he's like
He has a
40s-ish.
20-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, so he's like...
Chloe's 18, 19, or 20 because she's in college. And she's been in college for like a year.
Yeah, they do their best to get all the perspectives of all the demographics they can in this book.
But none of them have unique perspectives.
No.
They're all the same
it's all
cookie
the same.
cutter, worship the main characters, and
upper class white people for the most part.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Except in the movie, they did get a black guy to
Yes,
play
actually,
the
I was
actual
impressed.
actor.
They had several black people in the movie.
Yeah, they did. They did a
I was
good job.
impressed.
Yeah, they
because
did
the
good.
pastor, the associate pastor, was black. One of his journalism buddies, Buck's journalism buddies, she's a black lady.
Yeah.
The other...
The agency guy from the news place that he talked to
Yeah.
later in the movie was black.
While we're on the subject of his other journalist friends, what's with that girl with the face tattoo?
I knew you were going to ask about that.
Is it henna?
She's wearing henna.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
also that is to show she is a hippie Buddhist weirdo.
That's what I was thinking. I was
And
like, is it a
she thinks
chakra or
Carpathia
something?
is good.
Okay.
It's to make the point of, he's into peace. He's great. We love him. We like peace
the
because
whole
we are
one-word
hippie.
religion joke,
Yes,
yeah.
we're mystic hippie wackadoodles or whatever.
This is the
Okay.
70s in 2001.
Did you notice Chloe's nose ring?
Oh
as
my
soon as she got
God.
saved, she lost the nose ring.
No, I didn't notice that. Oh my God. And when Ray...
She was in college with the bad girl with the nose ring. She quits college, becomes a Christian, and loses the nose ring, and that means
Yeah.
she's good now.
What
Right.
was... Oh my God. Ray, when he made that comment about her nose ring, that sent
Like, you
me.
might as well just shave your head?
Right.
God.
Jeez, Dad.
It's
You
because...
might as well go suck dick for crack.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And this was from that blog that I read ages ago. He points out that none of these characters have true perspective changes after they're saved. All of their opinions stay exactly the same before and after. Because they are already evangelical Christians. Because the authors don't know how to write unsaved people. They only know upper class white people, evangelicals like them, and they can't even imagine what it would actually be like to go from normal human people, normal person, to right-wing extremist evangelical.
Yeah.
And they are unable to be outside of their own perspective, which is why Buck and Ray are the main characters and are so narrow-minded.
Yeah, that makes
And it's even present at the beginning when Ray is like, nose ring, shave your head, ma. Georgetown,
Yeah.
stupid university education. None of that changes.
Women
he just
these
goes
days.
from secular stupid to Christian stupid, and none of it changes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a very, very quick plot synopsis.
Yep. It's gonna be hard.
We meet Chloe, we meet Ray, we met Buck, we met Haim. Those are the basic four main characters.
Oh, and Hattie. She kind of
Hattie is a side character. Even Carpathia, who's the Antichrist, is a side character. We meet Dirk. He's a side character who's the
He's the
conspiracy
Alex
theory guy.
Jones stand-in.
Basically,
Burton.
Yeah, Dirk Burton. Yeah.
Their names are awful. Ray Steele,
Oh my
Buck
gosh.
Williams.
And then his son is literally Ray Jr., but they call him Rainey,
Rainey.
and I hate that.
I've never heard of anyone
Just call him
shortening
Junior.
Raymond.
It's better.
Just call him
Rainey.
Ray.
Yeah.
Just call him Ray. Yeah, I know.
Or Ray. I don't know.
They're way too white for that.
We have initial conflict. Chloe's going back to college. Ray is taking an extra shift because he's a pilot. Irene is upset because Ray is
Not
jumping.
Christian enough.
Well, no, he's leaving the birthday party.
When he said he wouldn't, he said he'd be there and that he didn't have a flight till that evening.
And instead, he's taking a flight, and she's upset because they're having a birthday party. The idea is he doesn't like being around her Christian friends because they're judgmental and they criticize him for not being
And
Christian.
he feels uncomfortable.
Because she invites them into their home, and then they criticize him for being not saved like them.
Which, I mean, at a birthday party, I feel like doesn't happen quite as much as just a random gathering. But
The idea is, though, that they're all Christian friends.
yeah.
They no longer have secular friends. They only have her Christian friends. Those are the only people who come around now.
Right.
So he feels alienated and kind of pushed out, and so does Chloe.
Yeah, he's just like, you should be bald. Just go ahead and be bald, you nose ring whore. Now
What was
excuse
the
me
name
while
of
I
that
skip your
singer
brother's
who
birthday.
shaved her head in the...
Brittany?
Oh, Brittany.
No,
Oh,
before that, Sinead O'Connor.
Sinead O'Onnor. She
I
was
think
very
it was a
big
dig
against-
at that because Sinead was liberal and very critical of like the Catholic Church, and I think the idea is and it's not hippie, it's straight to extremist leftists.
Yep.
And I think that's his dig at it, not going and being a junkie, but going and being an extreme radical leftist.
Right. You might as well become like a straight up lesbian.
A straight
and
up,
hate
yeah, a
everyone.
lesbian who shaves her head and hates our rich middle class lifestyle.
Right. Because a nose ring is obviously a slippery slope to.
Well, I mean, if you're Christian, everything is literally a slippery slope.
Right.
Slippery with the blood of Christ.
So Buck is getting set up. He is, at the beginning, he's like interviewing Chaim or talking to him. Or is that later?
No, well, he was interviewing Chaim. They had the bombings in Israel. He comes back to the U.S. He's in Chicago. They're in Chicago. Ray is getting on the plane to fly out. Buck is getting on that plane as well.
Yeah.
They're flying to
Okay.
London.
Yeah.
Hattie is on the plane. She is, in the movie, they point out that they didn't even have sex. They flirted.
Oh.
They make that distinction in the book, too.
Oh, they didn't have an affair in the book either.
No,
so he's not
he
that
wanted
bad.
so
Right.
badly to have an affair. So badly.
But he can't because he's still basically an evangelical guy.
So he just like plays
He's-
with it.
Right. And he just flirts with her but doesn't
But-
actually do anything.
But he does spend time with her that he should be spending with his family and stuff. So
And
he's still
it's
like
intimated.
emotionally.
That's why he takes the extra flights, is because he wants to spend time with her and not at home.
Right.
Work his way up to an affair.
Yeah.
He's like the slow burn affair.
We are going across, which this part I didn't understand. It's daylight and Chloe is driving to Georgetown to go to school. It's nighttime
Yeah, I made a note about that too.
in the airplane
'Cause
that Ray and Hattie are on, and Buck is on that
That's
flight
close
too.
enough to turn back around.
It's nighttime though, because she's giving everyone pillows to sleep.
Yeah.
Everyone is tired and going to sleep. They're flying to London. They're
So-
heading east.
This is my question. Does the rapture happen all at the same exact universal time, or does it go with like
I
the
know, right?
standardized time as you go along time zones?
All right, rapture
But
at
if it was
6:30
in the middle of
Pacific.
the afternoon on Sunday, it would still be middle of the afternoon in the Atlantic.
Right.
So I think that they just wanted it to be nighttime on the plane, but they needed Chloe to be in daylight on
Yeah,
the freeway.
you couldn't see all the wrecks and stuff.
And
I don't remember how that happened in the book either.
it was also nighttime when the brother and mom were done because they were in pajamas in bed.
Asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But Chloe,
But they were right there. They were literally with Chloe, essentially. Like,
yes, she leaves the party to go to school. She's driving the next day in the daytime.
So either they were just in bed at like noon while she was going to school.
Or she was,
rager birthday.
or all these people were out walking around at 6:30 a.m. And it was really dark or something, or light at her place. I don't know. It's just an inconsistency that really bothered me.
They didn't put any thought into it. So
No, I think their editor, to keep track of like the timeline and everything, just fell asleep.
yeah.
Hattie is on the plane. She's Chelsea Noble, and she is the real life wife of Kirk Cameron.
Oh.
They had like 6 kids together.
Dang.
Yeah.
Whack.
But Hattie, the character, is wanting to have a relationship with Ray. They haven't had sex. They've just flirted. But this is like an emotional affair to show that he's on the slippery slope of temptation. Buck is in business class typing up story or whatever, and everyone's settling down to sleep. This part gave me goosebumps again because they wake up and their kids are gone, and the mom is crying, "Where is my baby? I can't find my kids." That guy tries to jump out the door of the airplane. Everyone's freaking out. And then you go back to the ground, and Chloe almost crashes, and this mom is pushing her stroller, and she's crying, "Where's my baby?" They can't find her kid.
Every time there was like a big truck or something like that, like a semi-truck, the driver was gone.
I know. Weird.
All truck drivers go to heaven.
Why do all truck drivers go to heaven?
What does it mean?
But the dogs don't.
Yeah. There were so many dogs just left there, and it's like, how rude.
Well, evangelicals don't
Yeah.
believe that pets
Right.
have souls.
But how rude, anyway.
Very rude. And I found it interesting that Raimi, we don't know if he was Christian or if he was under the age of accountability.
Right. But he did go to Sunday school.
Yeah, in the book, he was involved in his mother's church.
Right.
But I think he still fell under the age of accountability.
Do they say in the book what that age is to them? Is it 10?
I don't think they do. Like, they just say children over and over again. They don't say ages, I don't think.
I've heard different people say different ages, and it's also, that can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it can make you scared for your 8-year-old child, whereas when they were 7, it was okay if they were naughty.
Yeah, I've heard everything from like 8 to 18, so...
And I've also heard people with developmental disabilities count as children unless they have a certain level of ability.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really gross. It's really disturbing to me. And that's not Catholic belief, because in Catholicism, if you die as a baby and you weren't baptized, you go to hell.
Yeah.
You have to be baptized when you're born.
There was one thing that really upset me in the book. So there was a Christian soccer team or something, and the entire team except one player gets raptured. And that player, who is a kid, a teenager, goes home and kills themselves.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's almost like if a god did this, he'd be a bastard.
God basically killed all the Christians.
Yeah.
He basically murders all of the children and Christians in the world because that's what going to heaven is. It's death.
I do have a few quick questions about how this rapture works, because they just leave their clothes behind, right?
What if-
IUDs, tampons, pooping.
Yes.
What gets left?
Because
What stays?
statistically, of all the people that got raptured,
Wait,
at
half
least
our
one of them
bacteria
had to
aren't
be.
even human.
Right! What just drops with your clothes? What if you had like a fake hip? Like you had like a
I think the idea is
I mean, you
that,
get your new hip back or your
right,
old hip
but does
back
the
in
other
heaven.
one drop?
I think the idea is that you return to heaven the same way you came out of your mother's vagina. You are your birthday suit coming into the world, you leave in your birthday suit. I think that's the general idea in this specific cosmology.
I would have enjoyed seeing a few more like pacemakers and random things with the clothes, because that would be like,
But also, the clothing does not look the way someone sitting in clothing would look if
it's
it
like
crumpled.
very carefully
It's obviously laid out by a person and folding it flat.
and like you would have heard the glasses drop from people wearing glasses. It wouldn't
Oh,
be like
yeah.
a mystery.
There was also a lot of attention paid to like pregnant women, especially in the book.
Yeah, they lose their infants, don't they? They
Yeah,
go from pregnant to not pregnant.
Yeah, it just
That's not in the movie, but it's
gone.
really disturbing.
Yeah,
in
that
the
would
book.
be horrifying.
I loved. Okay, Ray decides we're turning this plane around because they've lost all of these people. They get back to Chicago. They get back to O'Hare. Ray is like unwilling to take Hattie with him, and Hattie's like, "Help me" or something.
Yeah, because he all of a sudden
Cares about his
cares
family.
about his wife.
Yeah. And she's like, stay with me because I'm scared. And he's like, no.
He could have just taken her with him and said, "This is my stewardess who needs a place to crash."
Right.
But no, because they're having a sort of affair,
he feels awkward about it, so
or whatever.
he has to continue being a bastard.
He goes home. Raimi is gone. His wife is gone.
He throws a Bible and breaks a mirror.
He watches old movies. Buck doesn't know where to go. How
Yeah.
does he end up at Ray's house? Does he ride in the car with
He
Ray?
doesn't in the book. He just
think he
walks
just
around,
rode
just shows
with
up
Ray.
at Ray's
Because he
house
was in the
movie.
street and they threatened to shoot him.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
they declared
I
martial
love
law
that.
so fast.
Not only is it martial law within 4 hours, it's get off the streets or we will shoot you on sight.
Yeah. If you're not dead, you're going to be like.
But here's the other thing that blogger had pointed out. We go from martial law will shoot you on sight to completely normal life the next day.
Yeah.
There's no
Well, yeah.
military on the streets.
Nobody tells
There's
anybody
no
anything.
world of emergency. People just get on airplanes and go places again. Everything goes back to normal within 2 days.
In the book, that's how it was structured out
Yes.
because they didn't declare. I don't think they declared martial law at all in the books.
Right.
Plot device.
They probably in the movie they probably just didn't know if they were going to get a sequel or not.
I don't know. It felt like they were pretty sure at the end. They were like, yeah, imagine what will happen next.
I mean, you got to get your fear mongering in.
They could
to
have
some
done
degree.
like the end
and
with
the
a
book
question
was
mark.
so slow that they didn't really get into it.
They speed it up a lot in the movie. That is one good thing about the movie. It's fairly action-packed and it's fairly fast-paced. In some ways, we kind of skip some of the political side plots and we
Yeah.
skip some of the stuff with Carpathia and Donegal and all these weirdo little other things, but they don't really matter. So I think
Right.
that was a good choice on the filmmakers' part.
There was a good joke you made about the oxygen masks.
Did I?
On the airplane, he drops the
Yeah.
oxygen mask so they'll sit down and breathe.
Right. And what's the first rule about the oxygen mask?
Oh,
you have
yeah.
to put it on your child first. Aww.
You put it on yourself first before the child.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, put it on yourself, then you try. Oh no.
Yeah, that's what
It sucks.
Buck's relationship with Dirk Burton. It's a lot
That
of
comes up now about that point, doesn't it?
yeah. There's a lot of you got your Jewish space laser in my Revelation story.
He's very conspiracy heavy, very paranoid.
I hated him in the movie because I know people like this.
Yeah.
Who are, and then the 10 tracks of land, and it all makes sense.
And they just
then,
like
and
jump
then
into random and it's like,
And then Buck is like, dude, I love you, but you're not making any sense. Go home and sleep.
yep. He's
And
like that's how you deal with mania. It's
because that's what he presents as. He
Yeah.
presents as manic and kind of aggressive. And he literally needs a pill and to sleep
and
it off.
he can't remember when he slept last. Like that's
Is it Chaim or I think it is Chaim that Buck is talking to about Carpathia, and he's describing Carpathia to Buck, and he's talking about how his ethnicity. He says he's like the original Romanians that were blonde and blue-eyed before the Mongols affected their race.
What?
Really?
That was in the book, yeah.
Oh my gosh, is he the master race?
Yeah. Before those dirty Asians came.
Jeez. That's crazy. see.
Oh God, it was.
I must have just
ugh.
like completely blocked that one out.
No, it
No,
wasn't.
it's
It wasn't.
in-
It
it's in
was in the
the-
book.
I was like,
yeah.
I don't remember this conversation.
Did they go into Carpathia's childhood in the book, or is that in a different
They
part of the
do.
series?
They
He
talk
was in an
about.
accident as a kid, and he got pierced, and he didn't die.
No, they don't go that in the movie.
That must be in one of the other books.
Yeah, they talk about how he was born in Italy originally. So he's a Roman, and they make a deal about that a little bit.
like he's a Roman Messiah because he's born in Rome instead
Oh
of
my
a
God.
Jewish Messiah born in Bethlehem.
Right.
Yeah, they try to definitely change it so that he's not Jewish, and he also doesn't look or sound Jewish. They really shift it to where he's Eastern European.
Yeah, they made him like typical bad guy,
no,
kind of
I think
voice.
they.
like just vague.
I think they couldn't deal with the fact that Jesus is actually Jewish.
Yeah.
And his counterpart would also be Jewish. And if you're going to follow all of these prophecies, he needs to be born in Bethlehem.
And has to
Right.
be of
And
Middle
he has
Eastern
to
descent.
be Middle Eastern. And I really think that they are too racist and anti-Semitic
They can't
to
square
allow
that
that to
circle.
happen in their book. I don't really have other stuff to back that up, and I didn't read all of it.
Right.
But I found it to be a really weird choice to say that the Antichrist would be white Eastern European.
Yeah. Like it
Because
didn't
that
make
has
sense.
that has no correlation with the prophecies in Isaiah,
Yeah.
the prophecies in the minor prophets. All of these ways that people point to Jesus being the Messiah from the Old Testament, those are the ones that you should use to prove the Antichrist, because he's supposed to be a mirror image.
Right. So it's supposed to look exactly like what you'd expect.
And that's
for-
how people get fooled, saying this is the true Jesus because he matches these prophecies better than the original Jesus did.
Yeah.
Or this is the second coming of Jesus and he has been born in Bethlehem anew. And the idea is that the Jews will say this is our true Messiah because he takes political power, whereas Jesus did not.
Right.
But like I said, I believe that Tim Layhaye and Jenkins were like, we can't even have a Jewish Antichrist. And it's possible they were afraid of being accused of being anti-Semitic
Yeah.
by having that. But I think the other half is their American Christian audience would be like,
Yeah, they
you
can't-
can't have a Jewish Antichrist because they really cannot accept Jesus
Yeah,
as a
you can't
Jew.
have brown Jesus.
You can't have brown Jesus to these people.
They're too busy
And I think
blaming.
having a white, blonde Antichrist reflects what they want their Jesus to look like. And European.
Yeah.
Did anybody else get a count of how many times they did a title drop? Because I know they do it in the book a lot.
Buck says it, Chloe says it, Hattie says it.
Yeah.
I feel...
Sometimes they say it in things that aren't even related. They're just like the left behind. And they're like,
I feel like there was an emphasis put on it more in the book for sure, because I really feel like they're trying to emphasize that you're being left behind by your family. Like there's so much loaded manipulation in that.
Because it's not, I lost a family member. It's, they left. They were taken by Jesus. And it was a active thing the Christian did, not a loss or an accident that happened to
Right.
the non-Christian.
so it's like there's not even supposed to be grief. It's supposed to be how do I find and get to them, as opposed to
Well,
oh
it-
my gosh, they're gone.
It shifts the impetus from, oh, the Christian person in my life left me, to I didn't do enough to be taken with them.
Yeah.
When in reality, Jesus is abducting people.
And the idea is that you never know when, you never know where. It could happen in your lifetime or 3 generations from now. There's no actual way to be prepared for the rapture as a Christian because you never know if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
And even, 10 years before I left Christianity, I sat down and I just really thought about the end times. And I felt like, you know what? We've been in the end times since Jesus left. The rapture isn't going to happen. Not in my lifetime. And I quit worrying about it.
Yep.
And that took so much stress and anxiety off of my shoulders. It felt like I could breathe for the first time since I was a baby.
Yeah.
just that pressure of, am I good enough today? Because even some people will be like, well, if Jesus comes back and he doesn't find you doing what he wants you to do, he will be disappointed and he will leave you.
Yeah, and that's more of the self-policing thing.
Yeah. And some people are like, if you don't pray for forgiveness every day, that day you won't get saved. That's how that works.
Those sins will be too much for today. And that's more of a Catholic thing.
It's very
but some
absolution.
Christians still have this very strong,
dogmatic.
yes.
Yeah.
Like you have to pray and get forgiveness on every day, everything, every bad thought.
So in the book, Dirk Burton, he is suicided. Like they set him up to have a suicide,
Right.
but they set it up so it looked like he shot himself with his
Right hand,
and
but
he's
he was
left-handed.
left-handed.
Yeah, like just the laziest Sherlock Holmes.
And we're supposed to see how great an investigative reporter Buck is because he figures that out.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's just
They didn't
he was
have time.
murdered.
Yeah,
It's
they didn't
like
have time to
time.
set up like the suicide, the
Right.
fake suicide thing.
It was just he's going and trying to find out what's going on. He thinks that Dirk is right, and there's just an assassin shooting at them.
the worst assassin ever.
Because he doesn't even shoot Buck; he shoots the computer.
Yeah.
And it's like Buck walked in like 5 seconds after he shot Dirk, and he was just like, "Oh crap, I gotta kill this one too." But he shoots a vase that's behind a curtain because when Buck was standing right there at the vase, he couldn't see Buck. How did he shoot the vase?
I'm wondering. I don't know. Because we see that same guy later, and he's the security officer for
Yes.
Carpathia. I wonder if even then Carpathia wanted Buck to be on his team, and they just wanted to scare Buck. They didn't want him dead, and they wanted him to
'Cause he
do
had
the
a good shot.
investigation because they wanted him to bring it to Carpathia.
Yeah.
That
Carpathia
sounds-
in the books he's much more manipulative and grand master with the spider web, and in the movie
They just blow their load like so early.
they really don't have that time to build him up as this politically smart, developed character.
Yeah. It's like he learns the truth about somebody and then all of a sudden comes into his Antichrist powers, and there you go.
I feel like that point you made there, I feel like that was left open. Like, I feel like that was probably a jump that the authors want you to make. And that gets you into that kind of conspiratorial thinking.
Yes.
And I mean,
Everything is a conspiracy.
Yeah,
Everyone's
it's really
being
just
played.
training you to listen to Alex Jones and believe everything he has to say.
Exactly. Yes.
So the next scene in the movie, they get to the church, and the
Chloe
assistant
has come
priest?
back. Yeah, Chloe's there with Ray.
right.
The associate pastor.
Yeah, the associate pastor is
Bruce.
He's castigating himself for not being Christian enough.
You
And
know what? That is my favorite scene
Mm-hmm.
in the movie because he is such a good actor. He is so full of heart.
that was so
and
over the
pathos.
top when
But he does.
It was
he goes
over
to
the
his knees and
top.
he goes,
Oh, God.
I like died for a full minute after that. I was just laughing.
It is funny.
Because it's like everybody else's acting
it
is
is
like
just
very
Ray.
bland, and then all of a sudden there's so much emotion.
Ray's coming in behind him, and he hears Bruce going on and on about, I knew your word. I knew your stuff. I did it every Sunday.
There's a difference between knowing and believing, and
And it's like, this is my problem with this entire theology. He should have been raptured.
Yeah.
He did the work. He brought people to God. He did the work. The No True Scotsman is so foul and disgusting,
Yeah.
but they needed someone to push the plot. He is
Right.
kept
Yeah.
there as a plot device and to keep other people and bring them into the congregation.
yeah, so, yeah, sorry.
And so then they're watching that video of the other pastor who had 3 years ago with what's his face?
Bruce.
With Bruce
They
made this video about after the rapture happened. But Bruce didn't think about that.
He still didn't believe in his heart of hearts. That's the whole point.
There was, when they started going over the tape in the book, the pastor is speaking in the past tense, like he's there in the room with them almost. He's speaking in the past tense, like it's already happened in his eyes.
Yes.
And I feel like they just fucked it up. Because that didn't make any sense why he would be speaking in the past tense with them, even though that's an event that's going to happen in the future for him.
But it's because he's prophetic.
Yeah.
The idea is that pastor is
okay.
prophetic and knows what's going to happen, and no one else is paying attention to this.
I think it's just
no
trash
one else has
writing.
seen the future or the truth. But you know what? That actually created a fad, and a lot of pastors created those videos.
my
It happened a lot. Mega church
No.
pastors did this. I'll bet you can find videos on YouTube of
Oh my
people.
gosh.
Yes, this was a thing.
They made a
and
trend.
It was a trend. It absolutely was in the aughts.
There was also a part when Ray is talking to his daughter. What was her name? again?
Chloe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ray is talking to Chloe, and she is like, she's doing the logical atheist thing, and she's like, well, God did this, and Ray's just like, no, this isn't God's fault, but it is, though.
know! That
this
made
is
me
God's
pissed.
thing.
Not his fault.
We just didn't obey or listen or love or whatever his bullshit response was. But yes, Chloe saying, well, then God stole them from us. And
Right.
he's like, it's not his fault, Chloe. And I'm like, are you talking about the omnipotent God of
Right.
the universe?
You
The
know,
one
the
that
one-
set
the
this
one
all
who,
up.
who created this and did all of this?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that was God's choice. God had a choice
Yeah.
with all of this.
That's crazy.
Oh, and Irene gave Chloe a Bible for her birthday.
Okay.
Like, happy birthday. I think you're living in sin.
Happy birthday. You don't believe in this religion, but here you go.
You have a nose ring. I'm scared for
You're a
yourself.
whore.
She also starts dressing a little differently, doesn't she?
More conservative.
Yeah.
I think you see her belly at the beginning. Like maybe she's wearing a short cropped shirt and it becomes long. She wears the other shirt over top of it. I don't think you see her shoulders anymore.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but here's the thing that Blugger had pointed out. They start acting and dressing like conservative Christians. They don't have a congregation to enforce those rules on them. Those rules don't happen unless you're in a congregation creating those social mores. Like, that just
Right.
doesn't happen.
Yeah. So,
We're never going to get through this.
and I keep trying to push you
I'm
along.
sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. You're passionate about this.
I'm sorry.
This
So-
impacted me.
Buck gets saved from blowing up with his friend Alan by giving a homeless or
A drunk lady. Yeah,
she's not homeless. She just seems
drunk.
crazy.
She wants money.
Yeah.
There has been this conspiracy that they have been slowly building through the whole movie, and it's really dumb.
Yeah.
Stonegal and
Cochrane?
are two bankers, global bankers, who have all this money and have lent billions of dollars to the UN.
They're kind of the Rothschild stand-in, right?
Or the Koch brothers.
Yeah, okay.
I think they're Koch brothers.
I mean, the
stand-ins
Koch brothers
kind of.
are awful, so...
Probably not to the Tim Layhaye and Jenkins, but anyways. They are going to cash in the debt, and the UN is going to have to pay them with 10 tracts of land that are completely useless and pointless.
Yeah, that was weird, because in the map, like, those useless tracts of land are, like, massive.
Yeah, it's like the entire Australian outback is one of them.
They're the size of countries.
Right.
But one of them is like a little piece of Japan. I noticed that. Like one of them is very small.
I think that in this world idea, the 10 pieces of land are fairly equally spread out among the world, such that, like, North America will have one piece, and then, South America, and it's kind of divided up. The world is divided into these 10 areas, and that tract of land is the capital of that area.
Yeah.
And then those are going to be controlled by delegates that the head of the UN gives power and authority to.
And Nikolai says that they're going to be kings and queens, which is not what the UN do.
Right.
So
Also, I loved how he said kings And queens.
Yeah. And, there are some women
Wait,
here.
oh yeah, there are women
There's a
here.
single woman here. Carpathia becomes the head of the UN because
secretary
of the secretary of the
something?
UN, because all this unrest, and he's preaching global peace. He is really big for nuclear disarmament, and he promises that if Haim gives him the secret formula,
Give me the secret formula.
the plant secret formula, Jerusalem will get Solomon's temple rebuilt.
Exact
And-
specifications. He has a whole plan.
He has the plan, and there will be peace for Israel.
Okay, on the blueprints, there was a dick
Wait,
right in the
what?
middle of the building. Just gonna say
I
that.
saw a cross.
There-
Yeah,
I
it's
saw a
kind of
dick.
upside down cross, but Bam was like, "Oh look, a penis."
Yeah, I don't think that was a day.
There was a part where Chaim was like, well, what's that? And I was like, well, that's a dick.
No, I think
He was just talking about the whole structure, yeah.
Buck has been talking to Bruce and Ray about old end of days prophecy. And they have been trying to say there'll be 10 heads with 10 horns.
Yeah,
or
give him the whole
7
revelation bit.
Yeah, all of that random stuff that doesn't actually mean anything that these people think it means.
Yeah.
But to Buck, the atheist stand-in in that moment, he, well, I admit, this stuff is compelling.
Except it's directly after he said that those verses were too broad and vague, and
Yeah.
they could have meant anything.
And now suddenly
they
they're
didn't.
too specific.
I also love how the bad guys are using Bible verses as their plan.
I
Yeah.
was so mad. I forgot that was what that was. And when they said that in the movie, I was like, just rage.
Like, you cannot convince me that the Antichrist would be using Bible
Right.
as blueprint.
Yeah.
They would have their
Yeah,
own
because-
ideas and think it's their own idea because God is the one masterminding all of this
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
because the prophecy. Because why would he get his plans out of a book that everyone has access to?
that everyone has read and has all these ideas
That's
about
stupid.
already. It is. And that is kind of the Alex Jones things, too. They have to tell you ahead of time because
yeah.
there's special rules. So they will put it in the Matrix. They will put it in these movies.
Yeah.
And that's how we figure out what their plan is for the future.
Yeah, because there's got to be a way that you can see it, and if you don't see it, it's because you're too worldly or too materialistic or too sinful.
There has
so
to be
it's your
an
fault.
explanation for how they have secret information. They know the secrets, they know the details, and if you only saw things the way they saw them, you would have that info too. But it does not actually make any sense at all. And this isn't how the world works. And the world would never work with a single currency. There's too many people and there's too much diversity in our cultures, in what we buy and sell. They
Our
just
sense of
have to
worth and stuff.
shoehorn this stuff in
Yeah.
and make it happen because that was the interpretation they built in, like, I think the 1840s is when the idea of a rapture was actually created. And it's from a few different theology weirdos.
Yeah.
They built this whole following about this apocalypse end of days because people have been saying, oh, it's the end of days. And especially like 1666, they had the fire in London and a plague. And that if there was going to be an end of the world, that should have been it.
Oh, what did you think about Buck's come to God moment in the bathroom?
So cringy.
I started
oh my
singing.
God, the
So
music.
cringy.
Oh, the music.
Hey, I have a very, very shameful
Oh
secret.
boy.
You had the soundtrack,
I
didn't
had
you?
the soundtrack.
I knew I had heard the music more than I had watched the movie, and
my
I was like,
God.
how did
Listen
I
to the music on repeat.
I
It's
knew it.
horrendous. How?
I knew it had to be you that
Oh my
I
God.
think I'm crazy, but I've been feeling lately.
Yeah, no, because I remembered the music better than I remembered the movie, and I was like, there's gotta be a reason.
I had this intense flashback when the movie started, and that pop song was playing,
Yep.
and I was like, "Oh my god, I own that CD."
I was
Oh my
like, I know
God.
this
I
song.
bought that
They
CD.
use the word
Crazy.
revelations in one of the songs.
Yeah.
Captured,
It's-
raptured, away.
Oh.
The sky will open up, and every knee will bow.
Yeah, it's like,
The revelations
No one's
come
ever
in.
going to pay for our
Let me tell
Patreon.
you how.
They're going to pay to not get our Patreon.
when he started playing like pop music and he was in the bathroom crying, and then I was just like, that's me in the bathroom.
Oh, God.
Kirk has gone, or not Kirk Cameron, I'm sorry, Buck Williams has gone to the UN.
Yes.
He has been told by Ray and Chloe and Bruce the truth, blah, blah, blah. He's at the UN. He's trying to convince Haim not to give the secret formula to Carpathia, the now head of the
And-
UN.
And he's got to watch the entire Revelations prophecy play out before his eyes.
Yeah, they have to say buzzwords like 7 times before it clicks in his head.
So they're going ahead and planning out 7 years of peace.
Which, why would you
Right
plan
in front of
7
him.
years of
Why
peace?
specifically?
What
so
happens
specific.
in the 8th year? We go to war with everyone.
Yeah.
This
No
is our
one has
chance
ever
to build
lasted
up
more than
armament-
7 years.
armament.
By the time we have our 7th year of peace, we'll be pretty ready to kill each other again, I'm sure.
Yeah, that is the stupidest thing in the world. Nobody plans 7 years of
No.
peace.
So stupid.
World peace, it's so stupid.
Especially, that's not even enough time for like you to have new babies who you can raise into soldiers. That's just enough
And-
time for the people who are there to get older.
Wait. Do children can be conceived and born in this world, right?
They bring that up in the book.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Oh. So they bring
No
it
one
up
knows
just
if
to
you
say,
can have any children in this world
in
anymore.
Wikipedia, we find out that Buck and Chloe have a kid.
okay.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna tell you a very gross spoiler.
Does it get raptured?
No, they don't have another
mid-scene?
rapture. Hattie falls in love with Carpathia, and she is kind of Carpathia's plaything.
That makes sense, yeah.
She gets pregnant, and it's a deformed monster,
That's
and has a
gross.
miscarriage.
that
hate that.
sucks.
It's disgusting. Some people believe that you will not be able to have babies anymore because they're innocent. Those people also believe you cannot get saved after the rapture because the Holy Spirit's left. So that's
Gross.
kind of a different. Everyone had, and that's like, I was reading the Wikipedia, and it was like premillennial, pre-trib, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God. I know what all these things mean, and I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
Because there's the idea of, is there a rapture at all? Is it before the tribulation? Is it mid-tribulation, or is
Yep.
it after the tribulation? And there's the, can people get saved after the tribulation?
I've even heard of like second wave rapture in some circles. Like there will be a second one for if you got saved after the first one, just in case.
And basically, the rest of the books are killing off every character until you get to the Battle of Armageddon. But apparently, Bruce dies and gets resurrected, and he goes on a missions trip with them at some point.
What?
There's a resurrection at some point of the people who died during the tribulation.
I thought that's what the rapture was. I thought
That's not
that
a
was the-
resurrection of the martyrs.
Wait, did they check the graves? Just out of curiosity,
No,
like,
there-
did those bodies? Because why would the physical bodies disappear?
There was a mention about that.
And that's an actually much
The morgues
older
were
belief,
emptied.
yes.
Yeah,
Of
because a lot
Christians?
of the morgues were just had bodies just missing all of a sudden.
Okay.
Because that's what the original idea of the end time trumpet call is: the bodies in the grave will become alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is when Jesus comes back. It's not everyone poof disappearing to heaven.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why you had to be buried, you had to be interred
And
as a
not-
complete whole body.
Right, in a church
Or-
and not cremated.
Right. Because when you were supposed to be resurrected, you wouldn't have your body.
Yep.
And that's why being buried at sea would, like, be bad for your soul, and you couldn't be resurrected either. The conspiracy has to do with the UN gaining all this power, and that's where a lot of people actually people were distrustful of the UN before, but this built a lot of conspiracy around the head of the UN is going to be the Antichrist, and that comes up a lot. Also, I read there's a lot of criticism about this book as being anti-Catholic because the Pope got taken away, but Catholics did not.
Oh.
And it was because the Pope had Lutheran leanings. And
Oh my god.
yes.
Okay.
And so people were like, this is very anti-Catholic. And at some point in the books, the new Pope becomes the right-hand guy to Carpathia, the Antichrist.
Okay.
None of
That's
that
Leviathan
really
or
matters.
something.
Yeah.
Something, because I know there's the Beast, but I think the Beast is supposed to be Donegal and Cochrane, or whoever they were.
Okay. Yeah.
Buck
probably.
comes in and tells Smoking Hot Carpathia
Oh, yeah.
with his accent,
Whatever that is.
whatever that is.
His Dracula
His
impression.
Dracula. He comes in and he tells him that Donegal and Cochrane are doing this big conspiracy and they're going to destroy the UN and they're going to take all this power. And Carpathia's like, thank you for telling me. I will keep you safe. We're going to broadcast your stuff.
And then he sees
And-
the dick blueprints.
And that's where Haim is buddies with Carpathia, and they're building this plan for world peace and feeding every human, which is bad.
Yeah.
So clearly he's the Antichrist.
He's the
That's how you know
Antichrist.
they're evil.
Because he wants to feed everyone and he wants peace for everyone. Buck takes a moment to go cry in the bathroom and get saved. And he has to believe in his heart of hearts that Jesus is Lord, and he cries on the floor.
He comes out of the bathroom and Nikolai is just like, hey man, you okay? And I was just like, it looks like you've been crying in the bathroom.
But I think that's supposed to be Carpathia can tell he's different.
Right.
now.
That's, yeah.
He
But it,
has the shield of God's Holy Spirit. Also, these people believe you're endowed with the Holy Spirit when you get saved.
yeah.
They don't believe you have to have a separate incoming of the Holy Spirit or whatever.
I'm surprised they didn't bring like spiritual gifts into it, like just for a little funsy. I don't know.
That might come in later books, but I don't think that they deal with any of that current in this one. I think that's maybe too specific, and
Yeah.
they don't want to deal with which denomination everyone is.
That's why I was like, why are y'all against Catholics? But like, what about these other specific?
Isn't the pastor in that old video, isn't he wearing a clerical collar? Do you remember if he was wearing a collar? Like if they were Methodist or Presbyterian or something?
He
And-
might have been Presbyterian.
Because
Like, yeah,
Baptists do not
I
wear
think
clerical
he was
collars.
wearing the black, so I think he was wearing the clerical collar.
I'm remembering it now,
think
but
Bruce
I
is.
think I'm
No.
Mandelaing myself.
I don't remember
Of course,
because
Bruce is mainly just wearing clothes during most of it. It's not
he's
like
wearing
yeah, it's like a sweater.
Well, and as the associate pastor, I don't know if he would be wearing. But also, since he wasn't,
yeah,
So anyway, Carpathia is doing his whole 10 tracts of land. I'm going to run the UN. You're all going to be 10 kings and queens.
of these very specific pieces of land. And with Haim's formula, they will be Edens and they will be paradise, and we will have all the food we ever need. And this is when Cochrane and Stonegal are like, we made you. What are you doing? Oh.
Yeah, how are we going to make money off of this?
Right. How are we going to make money off of free food and world peace?
people won't spend money if they're happy. What is this?
And this is just one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
He acts it up so hard.
He does a Dracula mind warp.
And he just sweet talks the one guy into giving him his gun. He's just like, "Hey man, what's your name? How you doing? Give me your gun."
And it's supposed to show how charming and persuasive
Just seemed like that
Carpathia
guy
is,
really liked
but
him.
really, that guy just looks like he's a puppy dog and he loves Carpathia
just having the
so
best day.
much. He just
Like,
loves
oh,
her
he
so
noticed
much.
me.
Oh, he wants to sign
His
my
grin
gun.
is so big. He's like, yes, sir.
I'm in a movie. Yeah, that's what it is.
Carpathia takes his gun. He shoots one of the guys, and then
Shoots Cochrane first, I
Cochrane,
think.
and he's kind of doing this. I'm
Villain
God,
soliloquy,
Jesus. I'm
yeah.
Jesus God now, and I think this is supposed to be vaguely equivalent to Jesus with the dove ascending on him or descending on him in the river when John the Baptist baptizes him.
Oh.
I believe this is supposed to be
The
his
inverse of that.
coming of power because he gets splattered in blood and it's the opposite of water.
Okay.
And this is supposed to be the symbolic begin of his ministry / reign of terror.
Okay.
But for Jesus, it was 3 years, and for him, it's going to be 7.
Yeah.
See, that makes more sense because what I was expecting. Do you remember the line in Revelations where the what was it? It was like a 10-headed dragon with 10
7 horns.
seven
Yeah,
horns.
there's X number of horns, X number of
And one of them gets wounded and just heals immediately. Mm-hmm. I was expecting that was what the bit he was doing was.
Is Hattie supposed to be the woman who rides the beast?
The harlot.
Yeah.
I don't remember if they do something with Babylon. They rebuilt Babylon, the city.
Yeah.
And they make it more about that city than they do about a person. I'm pretty sure.
Because there's a lot of, like, really weird lore.
She's in love with him, but it's also like she's under his sway and power.
Right.
She is much more like a vampire thrall. And actually, Haim is too, because he worships Carpathia and thinks that he's the best thing in the world. And most people are shown to have this really dreamy, enthralled attitude of, oh yes, poor him, he says it. But okay, so he shoots them and he goes and he says to everybody, oh, he couldn't.
It's so terrible.
It's so terrible.
So tragic.
This Jonathan shot his best friend and then put the gun to himself.
Because they
How
were like,
terribly sad.
Terribly sad, they
How
all say.
terribly sad.
They all just repeat him.
And they're all crying, how terribly sad.
I don't think they, like, put the shot on the guy with the smile because I feel like he
It
could
would have still been
just back there like, terribly sad.
So they come out. Buck tries to like be like, "Hey, what was all that?" And like, no one,
what
everyone's
happened?
hypnotized
Because Buck is the only one not hypnotized.
'Cause he's
because
saved.
He's got the
he's
armor of
saved.
God,
He has
yeah.
the armor of God. He is under God's protection. Everyone else believes the tale that Carpathia has spun, that Jonathan stole the guard's gun, shot his friend, and then shot himself because his conspiracies were going to come to light. And all these bad things he was planning were going to come to fruition or whatever.
Yeah.
This is where we see Buck is different and special now, and he recognizes that everyone else is misled and deceived. And then we just have a really upbeat ending.
Yeah, it's like super abrupt.
So
He just, like, walks
upsetting.
into the
Tone
church and he's like,
change.
things are gonna
Hard.
He leaves the UN, and then we get this upbeat music of, I just know don't know the answers, but I know where to find them. And
I just
and then he
experienced
goes,
this horrible
trauma.
murder, but I think everything's gonna work out
Everything's
because
gonna
I've
be
got
fantastic.
Jesus.
And then it just, like, zooms up on this church and it's like,
yeah, and he
that
walks
building
in,
looks
Big
so
church.
big.
and it was like, wait, I would be traumatized if I saw something, everyone else saw something different. And my person who says, I am on his team and I'm going to have to work for him now is the Antichrist, and I watched him murder 2 people in front of me.
the people in that room were not nearly as traumatized as they should have been.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%, because these are
Well, I
like
mean,
politicians. They probably haven't dealt with like people killing themselves in front of them like that. They should have been like,
even if you're following the
horrified.
story Carpathia gave them
Yeah,
of
that's
this
still
guy
terrible.
shooting his friend and then murdering himself, it was still horrific, and everyone was just like, ah!
Yeah, that just straight in. Oh, terrible.
You hear bang bang, ah! And then
Yeah, did they shoot more
literally,
bullets?
no, there's only 2 shots. And then, but it's like he froze time as well.
Okay.
Because he froze time and he was able to warp everyone's mind. And then we return to real time and you hear the bang bang. And that's when and that's why he's over my friend, oh, how terrible. And he's crying too.
Okay.
Because Carpathia was able to manipulate everything in that tiny speck of time.
Gotcha.
I thought something was going on, like, our screen looked like it was vibrating. I thought that was like an effect, like Carpathia was like so powerful, like he was shaking the frame.
You can't even keep a camera on him.
But no, we were just watching it on Pluto, and Pluto's so fucking just.
Oh, that's why I should have watched that. I paid 99 cents on Amazon.
Yeah,
for
no,
standard
I wasn't
definition.
about to pay for that.
I had my.
It had tons of ads. So
I just
it was
had
like,
my
yeah,
iPad
Pluto
and I was
sucks.
doing it while I was making dinner. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'll pay 99 cents for standard. That's
Right.
fine. I don't care.
Oh, this is the Patreon episode. I can talk shit about ads all I want.
Also, something that I just need to mention because it made me laugh. Like the very beginning of the movie, they're having the credits, and Kirk is all lowercase, and Cameron is all caps. So it's like Kirk Cameron.
But Chelsea, noble.
It's like someone is saying the first word, and the other person's shouting the second.
Whisper, yell.
And then right at the credits roll, that's when I realized that Buck was Kirk Cameron.
Cameron.
He didn't know the
I was
whole
like,
movie.
Buck was Kirk Cameron the whole time.
Have you saw him in other stuff? Because that was the only thing I saw him
Yeah.
in when I was a
I
kid.
don't
That's
think
how
I
I
ever
knew-
saw him in any other
I know he was
movies
on like a
that I'm aware
TV
of.
show. What was the name of the show he was in? Like Happy Days or Family something?
Oh,
I don't know. It was like some
like a sitcom or something.
And yeah, like
Yeah.
a sitcom. Because I think he was in in the same sitcom with like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh,
In the 90s, he was a child star.
Ah.
And then he became hard right-wing Christian.
yeah.
And that's why now he only does... Oh, that's another one we should do. Fireproof.
Yes.
That
Yeah, that'd be a
movie.
good one.
Somebody gifted that to mom after her and dad broke up.
God, that was the
That's
best
how
thing
that's
they
how
could have
I
done
watched
was
it because
break
my
up.
parents
No.
were having a divorce.
It's like the go-to gift for your divorced couple friends.
You're divorcing your terrible spouse? Here, fix it. Give them flowers.
Well, on top of all your problems, you're going to hell.
That's where I got my complex about porn.
Growing Pains. I never
Oh,
saw
yeah,
Growing Pains,
okay.
but that's where he became. And I
think I've seen
I've read
clips.
criticism of how Christian actors cannot act because
Yep.
they're not allowed to truly have imagination. Your belief system strangles you so tight
Yep.
that you cannot.
Empathize with another situation other than
And also,
the
like,
pretend reality you want.
Yes.
in a way, like, I think some Christians view acting as lying.
Yes.
So that you can't, like, fully commit to your acting or you're lying to yourself and to other people.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have to be a bad actor or you're going to hell, I guess. I don't know.
It's really weird how different people have different ideas about it.
But yeah, fuck this movie and this book.
Fuck it for the trauma and fear
Yeah.
it instilled in children. I know we didn't do a great job synopsizing the entire, all of the stuff that
Yeah.
happens, but
I mean, we were having
truly,
fun with it.
I believe the harm is a lot less the character. I don't see the harm in the characters.
Right.
Even in this setting, even in a lot of the stuff that happens, I see the harm in the propaganda and how this instilled fear into an entire generation.
When you add this
Yeah.
into like your theology and your belief system,
And
like
especially, like, showing it to children.
Imagine watching a zombie movie and believing it was going to be real next year.
Yep.
And teaching your children, if they're bad, this will happen to them.
Yep.
This will happen to your family.
Yeah.
I felt way more anxiety over my aunts and uncles and family not going to heaven and being left behind than almost any other, like, as an anxious child. Oh God, they didn't get home on time. They died in a car crash. Oh God, someone slipped and fell. They broke their back. They're going to die. Oh God, my parents have died. I'm going to have to raise my siblings by myself. Like, I had all those thoughts anyway. I was a very anxious child.
Yeah.
When you combine it with this kind of religious trauma, it becomes, I didn't say my prayers right. I didn't have my gratitude journal today. I've even
Yep.
heard Christians say, like, what if God took away everything that you didn't say you were grateful for yesterday?
Yep.
it just really poisons your brain.
It does. It makes an anxious child a mess. Just a mess. It made my PTSD so much worse.
Yeah. But hopefully we didn't make your PTSD any worse, good listener.
You know, and if you have also experienced this stuff, please let us know your thoughts on it and any other Christian bad book, bad movie combos, because that can be kind of a thorny subject, and criticizing it can get you in hot water. But I'm really interested in how other people dealt with this content as kids, and then now as an adult is like, wow, that was fucked up. You know, and I thought it was interesting having your perspective of, as an adult who is not in this culture.
Yeah, I wasn't anywhere near as traumatized as you guys. With this
Right? We were re-traumatized.
Like, I watched this one and then remembered the next movie, and I was like, oh no!
And it just brought back how I randomly read a couple of the books, and they were deeply upsetting. At one point, they catch a Christian, and he won't recant his faith. And Carpathia takes his guard's gun, and it has, let's see, I think like 10 bullets in it. And he says, no, you use the whole clip. So he shoots the guy 2 times in each leg, 2 times in each arm, and then finally shoots him in the head with the last bullet. Like, it is expressly done to cause as much pain and anguish and suffering as possible. And it's gratuitous and disgusting. And I feel like that was actually some of the criticism I saw online of this really fetishizes violence. And it also brings, look at how they're going to get what's coming to them. These non-Christian atheists are going to get what's coming.
Just
we
naked
cannot
fear-mongering
wait.
at that point.
But also, we can't wait to see them suffer. These non-Christians are going to suffer good.
Kinda
They're going
like-
to get what they deserve.
Kind of like what 1,000 Ways to Die does. Do you guys remember that show? Like, they would take, like, stories they would find online, and then the person who was getting ready to die, even if it was just a normal person, like, just an okay guy, they would generate, like, this awful backstory.
They'd be like, look at him kicking puppies.
Now watch him get shocked to death by this electric fence he peed on.
God.
Yeah, no.
So
never
you
saw
could
that.
watch this guy die and not feel bad about it, and you'd keep watching for just the justification
Yeah.
feeling.
Right.
It also really
Yeah.
feeds into, like, the martyr syndrome of, like, you know, you're gonna have to die for your faith and all of this stuff, and they're gonna come get you, like...
Right. And
Yeah.
that's why people now, Christians now, are, I'm so persecuted because they don't like me.
Yep.
I was in their face and bashing them with a Bible, and they yelled at me, and that was so mean, and I'm persecuted.
But I think that's a good place to wrap up for this
Yeah, probably, because I hate this movie. I hate this book. I hate this series.
one. And I have to edit this and be ready to put it out tomorrow.
I know. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was good.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Bam Bam.
Thanks.
And thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you have a good week. We'll see you next time.
And thank you, Bugs, for being traumatized.
You never say thank you to me. That's the first time. You're welcome.
I just realized that, and I feel
No,
bad
thanks.
now.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.